Awesome. Awesome.
So today, what we're setting up a podcast.
The what?
Today we're setting up a podcast,
Today we are trying to set up a podcast. I will say that. Let's see.
and we're doing it the scrappy way. What's it called? Spotify for podcasters.
Yeah, Spotify for podcasters. So it looks pretty easy. I mean, it took me like literally 30 seconds to I got a recent email. It literally took me like 30 seconds to set this up. So that's always a good sign. It looks like it's basically just like a super scrappy way to kind of get started. There's other ones, obviously. Like one of my coworkers is telling me that she used like Podbean and stuff, and she was pretty happy about that. So, I don't think it's something we have to kind of like set it and forget it. Like if we feel like this doesn't like solve what we're trying to solve, down to kind of like push that around and like figure out what works for us. Because I don't think that they like kind of like gate it, right? Like or like make it so it's really I mean, it would make sense if they like made it so it's hard to jump around, you know? Because if I'm like Spotify for podcasters, I want you to stay here, but it should be pretty easy, like if we don't enjoy this kind of format to just get up and move around, you know? But let me
Good
see.
deal.
It's saying that there's sent me an email, and I already forgot what email I used, but I think it was our help thing. So let me go try to verify that real quick. But yeah, just kind of like, start a little podcast up and see how, oh, confirm email. Perfect. So let's see if that changes my screen here. Um,
And for everyone watching, the whole point of everything we're doing is to be as scrappy as possible. So we're not trying to, spend money out the gate. So if there's a Spotify for podcasters free version, that's what we're going to try to sign up for first. And if we can do it, you can do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like Podbean was, I think when I looked it up, it was like 15 bucks a month. So, maybe there's a cost associated with being free, but I think this, I mean, from all the things that we've I mean, we looked it up for 30 minutes, so it wasn't too long, but I mean, everything said like, there wasn't like no big negatives against it. And really, I think to find this, I think we just put it in Spotify or in ChatGPT, right? It was just basically like, hey, like ChatGPT, give me like all the podcasting platforms for like beginners and stuff, and this was one that popped up. So definitely trying to use AI and AI tools in our, in not just in our product, but also in building the company and the product and the idea. And I think that's something that like people didn't have even, a year or 2 years ago, access to that to move as fast as you can today. So I think that's kind of what I'm really excited about this whole like venture, is figuring out how we can utilize AI, not just in the product specifically, but in building the product or the business, or even like this, the platform or the content. I think it's all connected, and I think it allows us as entrepreneurs in 2024 to just do things that we couldn't do a year ago, a half a year, 2 years ago, even, because Chat GPT and AI, I mean, it's been a thing forever. I have this book. It's by one of the founders of Sony, and I think the book was written, I think even before I was born in like the 80s. And he was talking about AI in that book, how it was kind of like prevalent or like a new area of technology. So AI has been around for a while, but we're just kind of seeing the fruits for the layman's, for us, seeing the fruits of that now, and it's been a thing for 20, 30, 40 years at this point.
Yeah, the advancements have made it really easy for anyone to just get involved in anything they're trying to do. And to highlight another free resource, you mentioned ChatGPT. So throughout working with other entrepreneurs, we realized that ChatGPT is free, but not. It doesn't mean that everyone knows how to use it. The same way, there's not a lot of good people not a lot of good Googlers just because Google exists. So maybe future episode we can show people actually how to get the most out of a ChatGPT session.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that makes sense. And I can like, I think with that also, like it can be simple, and looking at my screen again, like this was just something that, literally was like, what happens if you want to change from Spotify to pod, we didn't, I mean, before this, I didn't know really anything about, I mean, some hosting stuff, but it's literally just, asking questions. What are the most used podcast hosting platforms in 2024? And it gave us a list of options and stuff. So I think that it could be as easy as, yeah, exactly, starting there and then kind of figuring it out, and then looking deeper into like Google and blogs and stuff, but at least it gives you a place to start for things that are more unfamiliar, for sure. But cool. I guess, that sets that up. I'm excited to kind of record this and then the next thing is going to be kind of, I guess we figure out like how to cut things up later, but
Yeah, we'll cut it
it
up.
seems like it's pretty simple to kind of just upload what we have here. First
All right.
episode, we'll set up your podcast and stuff. So excited to get this kind of like
So
made.
that's it. All we have to do is upload at
Yeah,
this
I
point.
mean, as long as we're okay not cutting it, which I'm totally fine with that. Like when I did
Yeah.
my bullish YouTube show, like I was telling you, I did it in one cut, man. Like if it if I said it wrong or whatever happened, fuck it, man. Like it's going in the episode, you know. Like I don't, I'm not an editor, and I don't necessarily want to be an editor. And if you look at people that editing prices, man, people charge a lot of money for a little bit of, I mean, relatively little work. I don't know how to do it, so maybe it's not a little
Right.
bit of work, but it's like, damn, people really charge a lot for that, to cut up an episode that no one's gonna even listen to or watch, you know?
Right.
So
But that whole episode and all that content is just more free marketing for your brand too.
yeah, for sure.
So that's something I can look into, and I would love to do.
Hey, mobile policy, I'm interested in it, but it definitely seems like I guess it's one of those things where there's so many options and avenues, and it's like its own art form that it's like very like where do you even start with that, you know? But yeah, I mean if that's people's jam too, that's pretty cool, I think as well. But cool, I guess like we can just jump in and start it when we already kind of are. But I think our first episode we really wanted to kind of maybe level set and set the stage, which I think we're already doing now, but kind of like why we're doing this, what we wanted to do. I don't know if you want to kind of like maybe elaborate from your perspective, and I can kind of color in mine as well, you know?
Yeah, so the whole point is we go back to the MBA school days. We all came out of there inspired to do our own thing. We worked with different entrepreneurs, different levels. We saw different venture fund opportunities, and we got to be involved in judging and kind of validifying some of those opportunities too. So we just got kind of like the overview of a lot of these types of entrepreneurial paths. And so no wonder we decided to go ahead and like in our own time try to make our own stuff. And the thing about that is not everything's going to hit, but
Mm.
the whole concept of this project was to learn the moves and learn the steps to make something and get it to a finish line where it's up to the public to decide whether it's a good idea or a bad idea once we've kind of done enough work to get it to where people can actually look at it and make a judgment on it. And then from there, what we'll do is every season will be a different product or a different idea, and we just flesh it out and build it up. And we try to interview um, different experts in those field, industry leaders, local people in the community, who contacts we made throughout our schooling, and just people we know through friends. We have a through our network. I'm sure we have a lot of access to other people who may have different types of backgrounds in all different industries. This first season, we're talking about making an app that makes doing anything easier, which sounds like a mix of Google and Chat GPT. But the whole point of this app was to nudge you with kind of that accountability partner piece, where you can literally type in anything like booking a cruise or fixing a window or something, and it will give you all the steps on how to do it. And then if you want to cop out of doing it, you can also just click to have somebody come install the window for you. But if not, it would give you all the resources to be able to do it yourself. So it's a really big DIY tool. And so we're just fleshing it out, and we're doing the behind the scenes to show everyone the process, our process for it. And over time, our process will get more refined and more simple. And, hopefully along the way, we're able to show and inspire others a simple process for getting results and whatever ideas they have.
Yeah, no, I think you said it. I think you kind of summarized it perfectly. I mean, we've talked about it obviously a little bit, but I think that was basically kind of what I saw it. And I think that originally when we started thinking about an idea of like what we can do, that was kind of like the first one of the first things that you kind of mentioned, like how can we document it, chronicle it, and for two things, for content purposes, but also kind of. I mean, I think maybe even three things: content purposes, obviously, share the experiences, like the frustrations and struggles that we see are going to be the ones that everyone maybe else sees as well, and I think for third is keeps us honest, like if we have something we have to do and share out, I think that kind of like even that kind of I guess not I guess that just kind of keeps us more in line, and honest,
Yeah.
keeps us more honest about it, because not all the time it's going to be fun. Usually it is though, which is great. Because I think you have to kind of enjoy not just the destination, but the journey. That's kind of why I think about it. And I think about this kind of a similar way. This is not necessarily destination, it's part of the journey. And if you're in this life and like in this life means like anything you're trying to get better at or excel at, you're not going to get there 100% of the times, and part of the learning process is that. And like for me, investing is huge in my life. Like I love it. I love researching, investing in new companies. I love technical analysis and fundamental analysis, going into like like the financials of a company, the chart of a company, nerding out about like the CEOs of companies, like that's all fun to me. And if you don't like, for me, like a lot of the times, like 90% of my work goes for nothing, like I do, spend hours looking at a company and I realize, damn, this company is not like worth for me the investment for my money. It's investing my time in it, but not my money. And like I guess that's some people get like and I can see how it could be very like frustrating, but like for me it's like no, like that was fun. Like that was 3 hours sunk down. I'm not gonna invest in this company, but still that was a fun 3 hours where I learned a new skill or I did something new, or you know what I'm saying. So and I like to say that only 5% of my investing work turns into an investment thing that a vehicle that I go into, but so that's the thing. You got to enjoy like kind of like the journey and the destination with the destination in mind, right? You don't just keep on doing journeys. You have a thing you want to go through. And that's the other part of what this I like is, we're doing the destination, we're doing the journey, but also with kind of that destination in mind. And I like your perspective originally of kind of like condensing that as like tight as we can, into like seasons or like episodes into seasons where hey, we got to the end of this, there's a delineation of this is the end, and then you kind of think about like, do I want to proceed with it or do I not, or do I want to change it? And that was kind of one of the first things we talked about a little bit, which I brought up. I think we talked about like, hey, you punt, you pivot, or something of that nature, and I think I put that in the show notes somewhere. But basically, yeah, you kind of like punt, pivot, or proceed, and that was something that I just ripped off from a red lab class at U of H, which I thought was really cool. Like, you have to move fast, you have to iterate, you have to fail, you have to succeed, but you have to learn along the way. And the faster you can do that, the faster you can figure out if I'm gonna fail or I'm gonna succeed, then I'm gonna punt, pivot, or proceed. The faster you can figure that shit out, the more kind of, well, the better you're gonna be in the end. And we could get to the end of like season one and say, man, this is a stupid idea, but all the lessons we learn along the way, I think, are going to be important to kind of inform that season two or season three, so on and so forth. So it's about kind of iterating, getting better, not even from a company perspective, from a professional perspective for both of us. So that's what I'm excited about as well in this and doing it with you, man. A guy that I, not a guy that I admire, a guy that just kind of like I think we're kind of very similar. Maybe too similar sometimes, so we'll figure that out. But I think that we're both optimists, in general. And one thing that I try to kind of keep in mind for myself at least is like feel like I don't overcommit, because I want to say yes to everything. I want to do stuff. I want to, but then like the reality of world catches up with you and something happens and you're like, oh shit. And I feel really bad. Like, oh, like last week, we wanted to record this last week, and I felt really bad that like game time and I was looking forward to it all week. Some, just family stuff pops up and you're like, oh God, I gotta do this. And I feel really bad about that, but still, I think that like we're kind of similar in the world of like we both want to like do the best that we can, and it's sometimes rare to find people that are willing to do that, go on that route, and then say, hey, this might not succeed, but it's we're gonna do it anyways, and we're gonna figure it out along the way. So
I think one of the real important parts of this journey is the transparency we're gonna have,
sure,
because like you said, it's about the journey,
yeah,
and we're gonna take some bumps and we're gonna fail a lot along the way, and that's not something we're shy about, and that's not anything we're trying to hide. It's part of it. And if our end goal is to inspire folks and to get others to move on their ideas and get them working on their dreams too, like we need to show it's not all highlights. I think social media and all that will have you thinking that everything's just like a
oh
picture at the very
yeah,
top of the
oof,
mountain,
my
but
gosh,
it's not that. It's a lot of thankless nights, and it's a lot of failing, and it's a lot of lessons learned, and we're gonna show that. I think where you mentioned the kind of share the screen if you can, and show the audience the we'll come up with a name for the audience, by the way, but we'll show the
the agenda.
episode, that like the
Okay,
episode.
yeah, that's what I have right on the mind, bro. I had it queued
Yeah.
up. I was actually like cleaning it up because we had some stuff on here I don't think I wanted to share. So I was like, oh, while you were
And
talking, I was like trying to
that's why
clean
we're
this
a
up a
good
little bit.
team.
But yeah, go through it. This is exactly what's on
But
my mind of like, what to show and kind of paint the picture, But go ahead.
and and so this is a outline that, like everything else in the show, is going to be able and up for change. We're not married to anything. If there's a better way of doing something, we're big on iterations. We're big on feedback. We're big on making something better. And so, just episode one, idea selection. Episode two, talk about the team we're going to need for the idea. Episode three, the actual product itself, building it out, talking about the key features, what makes this an attractive sell. Um, four, okay, now that we know a little bit about the product, how are we going to market it? What's our plan for that? And then five, we're going to look at the pre-pitch. So at the end of every season, I imagine that we're going to pitch to somebody who's going to, Shark Tank us and say, yeah, this is worth something or this is not worth something. And so the whole season's us getting together a pitch, bringing an item to fruition to where we have enough to pitch, so we can show a sizzle reel, we can show some kind of MVP, and you know, and get it to somebody. So this is us working on our pre-pitch mid-season, and then six is where we actually have the MVP, and we're
Mhm.
creating it using different, again, scrappy free resources, because this is something where we're not trying to sink a lot of money into realizing that this is a product nobody wants,
Yeah.
and we don't want our audience to think that that's the only way to do it. Because if you start googling how to do some of these things, there's plenty of people trying to sell you stuff to get stuff done, and then it can all be for nothing. I'm sure you'll learn something along the way, but why not learn for free? There's a lot of those resources as well. And then episode seven, our go to market strategy. That's something I never even thought of, but just whenever you're pitching to investors, they're going to want to know that. That's something that's going to get them excited about your product, or your solution. And then let's see, eight, the financials. That's the nitty gritty stuff. What does this look like on a spreadsheet? What
Mhm.
is, what are your projections 3 years out? What is it for the next 6 months? How much money do you need? All that stuff is where, we really do a deep dive in there. Um, and then nine, we're looking at our exit strategy. Okay, is this something we want to be part of forever? Is this part of a bigger play? What are we doing here? That's what we'll kind of come up with that once we have all those things figured out. And I'm sure along the way, all these are things that we're thinking about constantly, but these episodes are dedicated to that part so
Yeah.
that we can dedicate the time to it, but also the audience can kind of learn along the way too about how this impacts a product. And then last one, we're doing our pitch. It'd be fun to get them the whole session recorded and see if, show people what an actual pitch looks like, and what really good direct feedback from an investor looks like, so
Hmm.
that they have those things covered. And then because any experience we have is an experience we can share, and is just going to make the whole team better.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. And but one of the things like when you kind of share this kind of like a kind of like blueprint, and like you kind of mentioned when you started, hey, iterative maybe, this is what we're looking at now, so it might kind of change, but I think that it's a very solid kind of like plan and outlook. And one thing that when I was looking at this kind of excited me was like a lot of these things that we're trying to cover when we did our consultant, you know with the like the sure program. And was
Program.
it 200, I don't know how many hundred businesses were there, but they were small business, small entrepreneurs, mom and pop shops, from everything from, people that had a restaurant to people that were building like an education app. And one thing that kind of I saw with all those entrepreneurs that, have been in business for various amounts of years, whether it was zero or, I think one of my entrepreneurs was in business for like 5 or 6 years or something like that. And some of this stuff, especially like pitching, winners or losers, financials especially. Remember going through those spreadsheets with people, like, and no shade to anyone. It's a beast. But it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, you can still learn something or have like something that like you don't feel comfortable without. And for me, a lot of it was like I saw financials and I saw the pitching was like even the financials, I think people figure it out, but pitching and like putting your heart on the line, your business, your blood, sweat, and tears on the line, and having someone kind of like look at that, I could see how like that made people so afraid. And I get it. Like one, public speaking, like people rather like, die than public speak. I'm just, approximation, but people hate it. And then if you add on top of that the money aspect and the judgment aspect, public speaking in general is difficult, right? But being judged by someone else, literally that's what they're sitting there for, to judge what you're saying and to evaluate binary yes or no, it's worth investing in. So scary. So I think that like we can like I'm excited for this, especially some of the stuff that is like kind of scary for me as well. Like, hey, public speaking is something that like I don't like doing as well, but you kind of have to kind of be uncomfortable, be comfortable being uncomfortable. So those are kind of some of the things that I'm really excited about to look as well, like pre-pitching and market research. I'm a marketing guy, so I love that stuff. But the thing is, like, there's no like one class or one business role that teaches you all those steps that go into like what it is for market research or building a brand or developing a go-to-market strategy. Like there's a lot of little layers that like build up on that. So I'm really excited to kind of unpack that onion and stuff and see where it goes. But yeah, man, I'm really excited. I think that this was something I didn't think about as much originally. And I'm glad you kind of mentioned it because like you said, like I mentioned, like I've had a YouTube show that I did 50 episodes of, and I loved it. And it was kind of just a product of by myself weekly. I don't know if this will be weekly, bi-weekly, or maybe monthly for some of ours, but I'm excited to kind of figure out what that process looks like with you because I think you have a lot of good experience like in this world, from one side. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, super excited. Anytime you have a process for getting stuff done, it's just exciting because now you can, just copy and paste. And so that's kind of the dream here. Whether we fail every season or we have some winners in there, we're showing everyone it's a dance, and we're showing everyone the steps to the dance. So no matter what song comes on, you'll be ready to go. No matter what idea you get, you'll know the steps to getting it to fruition, getting in front of an investor. And I wanted to talk about how, yeah, when we worked in the Sure program, yeah, there was people who did not know how to use spreadsheets,
Mm.
and then come up with those numbers. And this is their baby. This is the stuff they know and live, breathe, and eat. And they couldn't even put together like a financial, just kind of analysis or background or any kind of report for you. Um, and I think that's something we need to, remember too. Like our community is going to be full of novices, experts, advanced, like all this different levels, and just us saying, hey, just use Chat GPT. Again, that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to use it to the best of its ability. So maybe, one of the things we got to start is a blog too, to kind of put different resources for how people can do these things that we're doing. Because maybe in our short episodes, we're not able to cover and do a deep dive on that stuff. There's already a lot of great resources, so maybe we just provide links for those, or maybe we end up recording it because we're better at kind of getting large chunks of information, making it digestible and easy for others, and so maybe we can be the thought leaders on that too. That'd be great. And then like, yeah, like you said, public what is it called? Like public speaking. Yeah, everyone hates it. My heart races for some dumb reason when I'm like one of the most outgoing people ever, but like my heart starts racing when I'm like, oh, this is a presentation. If me and you're just bullshitting, talking over drinks, I could talk all day. But it's like, oh, this presentation, oh, this is a pitch. Like all of a sudden, the heart starts racing. I black out and I come to afterwards, and hopefully, I did a good job. But it's almost like karaoke where you might know the song, but that doesn't really help you much. You're still gonna get nervous.
Yeah.
So one thing about pitching is there is a template to it. There's a certain song and dance to it, and so hopefully throughout plenty of seasons of this, we'll get our groove on how we like to best pitch, and our audience will then kind of from there do their take on how they like to pitch. Because I think at the end of the day, confidence is going to win out too. If you just pitch the way you pitch, as long as you're hitting the key parts, then you're going to get to the questions, and then from there, your business. They're gonna ask you questions, and you go in there with answers, and we'll make sure through our process too, to share everything. That way, no questions are ever gonna catch you off guard either on your journey. And then yeah, talking about the template and this episode list here. Again, it's subject to change, but a lot of these came from the venture fund and how we
Mm.
did our presentation
Yep.
for our what is it? What do we do in the venture fund? We came up with our
You're kind of like a decision, like if you're gonna like, promote it or like maybe like not.
right. So like our slideshow came up with all these points about these companies, and we had to kind of grade or rate each segment of the company based on these topics. And so we figured, kind of reverse engineering, if this is what a pitch is going to be at the end, why don't we do every episode that one of those topics? That way, we're building out our pitch as we go.
Yeah, so at the end, you don't have like, oh shit, I have to build this. It's kind of like built from all of the smaller modules. Now you just have to compile it, together. So it's kind of like maybe it makes it maybe a little bit easier at the end because you're already familiar with all of the individual like elements of that kind of like pitch that you're gonna have to do versus just building it at the end, right? So I really do like that approach. And I thought this looked kind of familiar. Like it felt like a little, like it felt like I've seen kind of like this before, like in terms of like it felt like good. And I was like, oh, cool. Like it's pretty thought out. But I want to also add like one thing, like this is something that we're doing kind of on the side for us. We both have full-time jobs and stuff, and we're doing our thing. And I think some people can look at that, you look at it two ways. I mean, in the venture classes that I've been in and stuff, and people, even like in the industry, like they always, I think that there's kind of like people think down, maybe not down, but like differently about people that are pursuing something on the side while working full time. And I really felt that like, oh man, if I'm gonna start something, I need to quit my job. I need to, live the dream, and I need to just be broke again. Not to say I'm rich now, but like I need to do all that. But it was actually this book. I don't know if can you see my screen with
Yeah,
the
originals.
Amazon? Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know if you've read this one. I
I
posted it
have.
in our like guy, like our group chat with the fellas and stuff. But basically, this was a book that was recommended in one of our negotiation classes, and which for a professor that I really enjoyed. And this was a book that like really resonated with me. One of the art well, one of the mentions in here was basically about Warby Parker and about how like guys were just like, the guys that built Warby Parker were more or less, they didn't want to just take a gamble that this was going to work. They were working full-time jobs while they were looking or trying to build this company, right? I've just seen the opposite of, people that are, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say purists in the sense of like a startup purist, but like, oh, you have to quit and you have to do this. And like, no, there's multiple ways to do this. This is like something that we're passionate about. This is kind of something that we want to pursue, but that's not to say we have to give up what we're already doing, especially if we love it or enjoy it or, doing as well. So I'm excited to do this and also excited to do it on the side. And especially this book, like it really helped me think about like how to kind of move or think differently without kind of giving a fuck, honestly, what other people are going to like kind of want you to kind of do or mend or blend into. So if anyone like needs a good book recommendation and some, I really, this one is probably one of the ones, if someone's like, hey, recommend me a book, this is probably one of the top ones over like the past few years that I've gotten that was like, man, this one definitely hits home, the originals for sure.
Yeah, I've always felt like I stuck out, and reading the originals was something that kind of brought it back in to like,
Mm,
no, you're not doing anything crazy. You're doing what a lot of original people do.
yeah.
And not to say I'm special, but like if you're someone who likes to think of ideas and make something out of nothing, you are original. So
Yeah.
everyone listening to this, anyone interested in this podcast, you're by nature going to be someone who has original thoughts. So you are an original by that definition. So um, no, it's a good book to read. Totally recommend it as well.
On that note, though, I guess kind of like one of the things we want to do in the first episode is kind of like talk about the ideas that we were looking at, right? I think it did a really good job of like setting up the introduction and kind of like the stage of what we're gonna be doing. So maybe kind of like first order of business, kind of jumping in and looking at kind of like the different ideas that we've kind of thought about and maybe kind of think about, which one we'd want to pursue. I know we did a little bit of work already, more kind of like from like a can we do it perspective for the DIA project management stuff, but I think that some of these ideas maybe can resurface in other seasons, as we kind of flesh things out more. But I'm really excited to kind of like start and just jump in and really build like, kind of like a scrappy version of whatever the thing we want to go for.
Yeah. How are
Um,
we doing on time?
that's a good question. I should have actually started, maybe I should have started a
Does
timer
it just crap
somewhere.
out, or does it give you some kind of timer?
I think it gives me like a 15-minute warning. Again, hey, we're doing this scrappy. We're on
Hey, yeah,
Zoom free version.
there
So
you go.
lesson learned for next time, set a timer because I think we only get a 45-minute window to
Now,
record. But I think
I'm
we've been
making a
on for
list
about
of
20
all
or
the free
so.
resources. Is this version of Zoom a free resource, or
This version of Zoom, oh, definitely free. Yeah. Oh, running. Oh,
being able
now
to
I got
share
the
it to
running
it?
out of time.
There you go, 10 minutes.
Got is it the 10-minute timer? All right. Oh, that makes sense. Well, that's perfect. Yeah, that's a perfect amount of time then. But in the future, I will definitely start. And that was the other thing, like trying to find like free recording stuff. Like I don't know if anybody in the chat, if we even get a chat, like knows, but like we looked at.
We're gonna get a chat.
I like asking the fake chat questions.
Yeah. And I think
But
I have a good name for them. Let's call them team. You know, they're the
yeah,
team.
yeah, no, well, we're partners. Yeah, partners.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the partners.
Yeah, OP, artist partners. And even that name was like long in coming. Like we thought like that's bringing it back to relics of our past. But so even that finding, a recording, like, okay, fine, you can have a Google Hangout or something, but now you have to pay for that. So I was like, okay, we don't want to pay for that. So what do we do now? Zoom. Okay, we have to pay for Zoom if it's over 45 minutes. So even that has been like a scrappy process of figuring out how we're gonna even record ourselves. So people just want our money, man. But that's the thing. Like, people are consumers. Just give them something to buy, and they're gonna buy it. Everyone wants our money, man. We spend our time making it. People want to take it from us.
Right.
So maybe
Another free resource is our Gmail account. We
oh,
our entire company runs through a free Gmail account.
yeah. Gmail free. We need to figure out how to do like a hosting, because I think you can host a website for free, but it's very basic. But maybe we'll find a in route on that one. But yeah, we wanted to start with kind of a few different ideas. I think that we settled on the AI powered project management. We're calling it. I think you came up with the name for that one, which was great. And I think there was like some Greek or something behind it. You looked up
Yeah, I
like
think
root words.
yeah, it's called C Task. And it's kind of a play on words where with the nudges and the accountability piece, you're seeing your task. It's always going to be put in front of you. But also, I think the Greek god of productivity is Cetus. So it kind of worked out where there's a bit of a pun there too. Let me see. Greek.
Yeah, I should have wrote that down because I remember us looking it up when we were having dinner or something, and I was like, man, that was like the perfect name of that. And then you put the SEE task on it, and I was like, well, that's what we have to do. Like that's perfect if that works. But we should figure out. I should have. Was it Latin or was it Greek? I forgot which one it was. But anyways, we'll figure that out and circle back. But yeah, there was like a root name behind that, which I was really excited about. But a few of the other ones we looked at, hey, like personalized travel itineraries. I think like basically a travel plan tailored to individuals and preferences, interests, and budgets. I think that is a pretty interesting one. I think maybe it was a little bit too broad, but the second one that we looked at was C-Task, which is kind of like the AI. Everyone has AI behind their name, so how do we kind of like jump on those coattails and make it an AI power? I guess you can AI power anything, right? AI powered DIY project management, and call it C-Task, and basically an app to that kind of guide users through every stage of. I think we're starting with DIY projects specifically now. I'm just from the vein of like we don't want to go too broad, right? I think one mistake is going just like we want to be everything for everyone. I think that was one of the things we early wanted to kind of sidestep. Maybe not be everything for everyone, but get super specific and streamlined to like, okay, do it yourself, people. And this one is kind of along those lines. Hey, for those people that are kind of like type A, really want to get pushed, really want to kind of have their schedules built out. As you mentioned, have some like notifications like, oh, next week I want to cut the grass. Well, let me set up my project management software now for myself to figure out the things I need to do and that I'm on the right timeline. Hey, do I have string in my head, my clippers, right? For the side lawn or whatever it's called, the weed eater. Do I have, gas for my gas powered, or maybe people aren't have on gas powered lawnmowers anymore. Maybe the batteries are charged, doing all those little things throughout the week before your task is due or when you're supposed to do it, to kind of make that easier. There's nothing worse than like going and your EV powered, lawnmower is in charge, like, oh, I got all this hype to do this and I can't because my weed eater doesn't have whatever needed. So, I think that was kind of like the genesis behind C-Task. And the third one we're looking at was kind of like a subscription box for sustainable living. I think that was an interesting one too, like curated monthly box featuring, eco-friendly products and practical tips for a greener lifestyle, kind of like in the way of what people are looking at. Sustainability is sustainability living. But I think C-Task was one that was interesting to me. I've never had to make an app before. I'm not a technical person. I work in technology, but I'm not a developer. So for me, this one was an interesting project because like, hey, as someone who's not a developer, can we develop something? And as develop something for me is loose, right? Like I'm not saying that we're gonna get in there and we're gonna learn Python or we're gonna learn JavaScript and we're gonna do this, but hey, maybe we have some tools that we can kind of leverage to kind of get pretty close to that. So that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, none of us are developers, but the same way a lot of, you know, a lot of guys back in the day weren't rock stars. They all started bands in their garage. You know, like this is our rock band. This is our garage band. We're gonna get scrappy and learn and use these free resources, or use the lowest cost resources too. And some there's some solutions that aren't free, and we're gonna have to figure those out. But we'll share everything, and we're gonna learn some skills along the way. So us season one versus us season 10, we're gonna have a lot more skills under our belt as we go along. So excited for
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like a part of that, I know we're kind of stressing on time right now a little bit, but that's just kind of like on me, my bad for like not taking the
Yeah,
time.
we're learning.
Well,
We're
if
learning.
it
That's
cuts us
part of
off,
it.
it cuts us off. Then we'll figure that out in post
There you
production,
go.
right? Like post production, like we have a production, like us figuring us just
Yeah,
putting the thing on the
that's
end.
me.
But yeah, yeah, we'll let Ed figure that out later.
Yeah.
No, but I think like going kind of like a little bit deeper on that, like down the funnel of like the agenda too, is I think that we kind of talked about it in the beginning, but really for us, it's not about just using AI in our software, it's about using AI to build a business. And one of the things that I'm also excited about this journey is like looking at the different products that are available to help us, to kind of to push a company down the middle, So like if we want to develop a MVP landing page, right? Like we can use like AI software like Gamma.io, right? Which is I don't know if anyone's like I can share my screen. So like Gamma.io, which is a really helpful to like make stuff like that, make beautiful things, that we don't have to necessarily do ourselves. This is just kind of an idea. You can use this also for PowerPoint presentations and stuff, but that's really interesting to me is like how do we utilize AI to build us, and also, other ones like, one that I have up is like Replit, do we can we make an app? This is Replit. This is basically a way to kind of build software, like high level MVP software for you. But can we utilize this to kind of either make a website or build that kind of MVP prototype for an app? So even though we're not developers, maybe we have enough in our repertoire to do that. Also one more and then I'll stop is we're not necessarily content makers, but we can use things like ideogram to make images, like give me an image of give me a logo for you know, OPV. Let's just say like that. It's gonna take a while to think and stuff, but that's as easy as it can be to like make an image or make a logo, right? And you see kind of what you can also kind of see what other people are making as well. So I think there's like I said, not just a way to like kind of like build AI as a product, but use AI to build a product as well and a company as well. So that's what I'm excited about too.
Yeah, with our last minute, I kind of just want to highlight some of the again. I guess every episode we'll be touching on different scrappy ways to get stuff done. We talked about ChatGPT, Spotify for podcasters. Our content will go on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, easy copy and paste stuff. Once we have it, we're using Zoom to record. Of course, Gmail. You talked about Gamma. You can make a really quick landing page powered by AI through Wix nowadays too. Um, Replit is an awesome developer tool for non-developers, and an ideogram too. There you go. Look at that. We
Yeah,
got
I mean,
we're
literally
we're
30
we're in the
seconds.
we're in renewable energy now. Look at us.
Look at that. Yeah. We got a watch out for those birds, man. Those birds are
Yeah,
they're gonna be pissed.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, we gave it no context and say, hey, make a logo for this. So,
There you go.
we
Did you write
got
down that we were Harry Potter fans? I mean, we got a little boy who lived on there.
that is very the boy who was chosen type thing, right? That's very you got the glasses here and you got the
Yeah,
little
inside joke. This will just be our logo for season one.
I
Everyone.
love it, man. I don't know why you mean
Yeah, there's
OPV.
a lot going on.
Yeah, and then there you go. You just kind of, do this
Conversation.
guy, do like
Another
a
free
little,
resource, the snipping tool.
yeah, a little copy and paste option there, man.
Yeah,
Hey, we got season one logo. Like makes
there you
no
go.
sense, but it's great, which is AI right now. Like it's exactly what it is. Like
Yeah.
it makes no sense, but it is great.
AI is the smartest 4-year-old ever.
Yeah, yeah, basically. I love it though. But yeah.